Talk 820 AM and 96.7 FM. WBAP.
News Talk 820 AM, 96.7 FM, WBAP. It's our home stretch half hour from Manchester, New Hampshire. Already, my brain is already out there on I-93, headed down to Logan Airport in Boston, on the plane, getting home to Texas, because doggone it, man. Iowa, done. New Hampshire, done. I know South Carolina lies ahead, so does Florida, but it's time to think and talk a little Texas, shall we? Like the Texas Senate race, and it's going to be front of mind down in Austin. Tomorrow, Empower Texans and the Texas Public Policy Foundation are putting on a debate, and it is noteworthy for a lot of reasons. We've seen a lot of Ted Cruz and a lot of Tom Leppert. David Dewhurst been playing a little low-key, but he's going to be on that stage, and so will a gentleman who came in and sat down for an hour in studio with us some months ago and went through everything. It was Craig James, and he was sort of floating the idea of running for Senate, and we got in touch, and we sat him down, and we talked about everything. Talked about his ideas, talked about his philosophies, talked about what happened at Tech and what happened at SMU, and he courageously took your calls and just went through the whole thing, and then it all kind of went away. And then I remember a few weeks ago, all of a sudden it reared its head again. All of a sudden, wow, there will be a Craig James Senate run, and he will be on that stage tomorrow night, and he is on our phone lines now. Craig joins us from Dallas. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Mark. It seems like just yesterday, but boy, there's been a lot of water under the bridge since we had that conversation and that meeting. So it's good to be with you.
It's nice to be with you, and let's talk about that, because I was talking to Susan. I said, what was that, like August? It was March. So you really took some time, and I mean a lot of time, to look at this, weigh it out, during which time, Dewhurst is still there with all that money, and Cruz and Leppert are out there doing all that campaigning, and you still decided to get in. What led to that moment of decision?
Well, I could never shake the passion and the real calling I believe that the Lord has me to do this. And I waited patiently. I knew that during the fall that there would be very little focus on the Senate race in Texas from the diehards, from the people who really are into it. They're politically minded. Some of them have made decisions for Dewhurst. But the vast majority have been following Governor Perry. And so you and I both know that 2 or 3 months is an eternity in politics. So now it's my mission to get out, share my message, share my beliefs, what I believe in, why I'm doing this with people around the state of Texas over these next few months.
This probably got back to you because here's what I sort of had to say. I remembered your appearance on the show, full hour, taking some calls, some of them from people that were not thrilled with you for some things, and you took every call and gave your side of things and just came in and took it like a man. And I don't have that whole the tech thing against you. And I think you're a great guy and your positions were great, and I got nothing against you at all. I did ask, however, what is Craig thinking? Where does he see room for him to nose in? Where's his pie slice of candidacy in a race that already contains Dewhurst and Cruz and Leppert? So give me the short answer to that, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, I'll give you the short answer on that. I love our state and I love our country, and there's 3 things you'll hear from me consistently. Passion. The same passion that I had for football that helped me to win state championships, college, NFL stuff, the same passion that led me to a broadcasting career of 20 years at the highest level, the same passion that helped me in my business interests for 30 years. I'm going to take that to Washington, D.C., and I'm going to rail against those on the inside and what they're doing. I'm not going to be ashamed of my positions and my stances. God is God, family is family, and the Constitution is the Constitution. Mark, if I can go up there and get those folks to adhere to the Constitution and the freedoms and the things that it offers for us, the protections, the limited government style that our founding fathers envisioned for us, I'm going to rock the boat. I'm not going to go up there and try to conform to the establishment. Right. And that and the passion that I have for what I'm trying to accomplish is going to separate me.
Is there anything missing in the existing candidate field in terms of positions or ideology? Is there a hole there that you need to fill with an idea you have that nobody else already running has?
I think a lot of folks are going to talk and say the same things about the Constitution, about family and God. I've lived it. I've been through it, and especially in the economy. Mark, as you know, and when we talked about it, I am a rancher. I'm a real estate guy, and I have started many businesses over the years. I get uncertainty. I don't need someone to come sit in my office and explain to me, well, here's what regulations means to your business. I've lived in it the last 3 years, and unless you've been in this economy, signing the front side of checks, you can't really understand. So with the passion I have for how it's impacted my businesses in a negative way and the people who have worked for me over the years, I'm going to go rail against the regulations and try to get Congress to understand we must stop the spending, the wasteful spending. We've got to get to a balanced budget amendment. It's a necessity.
I'm really glad to say this next thing to you, because a lot of people, I've walked around and talked to a lot of people about this, and we've had conversations over, wow, this is an odd race for Craig to get into, especially a little bit late. But here's what I've had a lot of people say back to me. They say, Mark, you're a talk show guy. And to political junkies who've been following Dewhurst, following Cruz, following Leopard, yeah, it looks busy, crowded, and late. But there's a huge, probably a majority of Texans who are starting to pay attention to this race. Starting right now. They haven't been following all the Cruz and Leopard and Dewhurst developments. They're starting right now, and to them, the other candidates are as new as you are, and why not a guy who they've seen on ESPN for a generation?
Amen, brother. And you know what? This goes back. I'm not just jumping off a cliff without any kind of homework here. We've done our statewide polls. The overwhelming majority of Republican registered primary voters are undecided in this race. And so there is a huge opportunity for me to get out, to share my passion and my vision, my experiences as a dad of 29 years, husband of 29 years, raised 4 kids. I get all the education woes. I understand those things. So once I get out there and let people hear from me and understanding that they're just now starting to pay attention, that's a good thing for Craig James.
You boldly addressed it when you were with us in studio for an hour. Let's give it a minute right now. You're not going to win Lubbock.
Well, I think what you would be surprised is that there are a lot of friends that I do have out there, and that as time has gone by, those who have seen the facts and the truth, they've recognized it. There's some who just won't look at it. And I say what I said to you back in the spring. We supported our son against a wrongful act, an evil act. It is indisputable what happened to Adam. He had a concussion, and on back-to-back practices, Leach ordered him put away in a dark solitary confinement. You can't do that to a human being. That same passion to rail against evil is what I'm going to take to Washington, Mark. I'm using that as a springboard, as an example of who I am and what I stand for. I'm standing for right. Right is right, wrong is wrong, and it's never right to do wrong. And so I don't apologize for our actions then. I understand, because there's some people who just don't get it. They weren't in my shoes or Maryland's shoes to understand what exactly had happened and why we did what we did.
Tomorrow night, you're on a debate stage with guys who have been, Dewhurst has been, campaigning for this seat, but has been lieutenant governor forever. Cruz and Leopard have been campaigning for months and months and months. You're on a debate stage with all these folks who are sort of on the treadmill. What do you have to do in terms of debate prep, and what are you thinking about putting on that stage tomorrow to make an early splash?
You know what? One of my bosses at ESPN said, man, Craig, you've been doing debates for 20-plus years on television. You've been debating Mark May and Kirk Herbstreit and Jesse Palmer. And so I know how to listen. I understand the game and what goes on in a discussion. I've studied the policies and the issues. I totally get where we are on all of the issues and the concerns that we have in our country. I'm confident that I'll be able to convey my message and my passion and why I'm doing this, why I gave up my great seat at ESPN to do this, why I gave up the little privacy that I have in my life. Man, this is a sacrifice, but it's one that we as Texans, we've got to come together. We have to stand up with boldness. We have to rock the boat, go kick. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to kick the skunks out of the bushes. And that's what separates me. I know I'll do it. You know what I will do with the passion that I have.
How are you set money-wise?
Well, you want to send me some? I'd love a little bit more.
But this is your opportunity to make more by plugging a website. Go for it.
I'd appreciate that. Texans for Craig James. And the money will come. The money will come once you become a real credible, viable candidate. I'm realistic about this thing. I'm just now starting out. I have made a sizable contribution of my own today, and the money and the people. We've got a 30-stop, city-stop tour around the state that's going to begin next week. We've got multiple fundraising events that are coming on. So, the Lord knows what I need, far more than I do, and I don't think God would have called me and put me in this position to do this if he expected me to fail. And so I'm going with great faith and obedience.
Is Roy Bailey on the team?
Absolutely. Roy Bailey is one of the captains of this team. And as you know, and Jim Lee down in Houston, those two guys are two of the key Governor Perry financial men. They know where the cracks are, and they know where the money is. I'm very fortunate to have Roy Bailey and Jim Lee on this team.
As a political creature, I'm sure you've been watching presidential stuff. Is there anybody, you got a favorite in this race at the moment? What's been your thought of Iowa and New Hampshire?
Well, as you drive down 93 heading to Logan Airport, it may change by the time you get your car returned. So
tell me.
You know what? I think Governor Perry has the right heart, and he's got the right intentions. He's just not been able to convey it, and to handle the debates and the flops that he had early on in those moments in those debates. He just can't overcome. But I love his heart and his spirit. I hope that Mitt Romney really is going to go and kick and scream and fight. We can't continue to send career politicians to Washington, D.C., and Governor Perry's been railing on that. I agree with that. The same old is going to keep us right where we are. We must fight for the Constitution. We've got to get the balanced budget amendment. We've got to go kick the skunks out of the bushes, man, at the bottom of the line. And if Mitt Romney's the guy, I hope he's bold enough to step out there and address entitlement reform and address immigration.
With it not fully, totally settled yet, do you want Romney to be the guy?
I don't. You know what I want? I want people to get involved and to make sure they go vote. That's what I hope happens. And whoever they vote for, I hope they will support all the way on the Republican Party. And if it's Mitt Romney, we got to all come together and we've got to support Mitt Romney, because President Barack Obama has taken us to a socialistic society, and I don't want that. If I wanted it, I'd move across the big pond to Europe. So we must fight for our Republican candidate, whoever that ends up being.
Well, good luck in the debate tomorrow night, and I guess we'll be talking, and I look forward to it. And thanks, Craig, and best of success to you.
You got it, Mark. I'll enjoy the 65-degree day that we have in Texas, so come on home when you can.
It'll still be warm when the plane lands tonight. Thanks, Craig. We'll be talking to you. Thank you, man.
See you, Mark.
All right, it is TexansForCraigJames.com, TexansForCraigJames.com. All right, you know what we're about to play? We're about to play the game called How'd That Work Out For You?